Well, the major strike that's taking place today is within the rail union. So there's a 48-hour strike by workers in different train lines. They were seeing reduced service, and in some parts of the UK, there are no train services at all. However, we've seen a number of train strikes take place here in the UK, so people are starting to get used to it. There isn't the same level of disruption as some of the original strikes. However, that means that people are working from home, or they're avoiding going into the city, they're avoiding travelling. On top of these train strikes, though, we've also got driving examiners that are striking, and that's causing an issue because there was already a backlog of people wanting to sit their driving examinations during COVID. Now that's being further delayed due to ongoing strikes. There's also strikes being held by the national highway workers, so roadworks and sort of the general work that goes on behind the scenes that people don't often see. That's no longer taking place, and that's going to cause a backlog of further future roadwork. And that's, of course, part of this increasingly frequent cycle of industrial action and strikes that are taking place in the UK. So it's train strikes and driving examiners today. We've got some more nurses strikes coming up. We've got a rail mail workers as well. So there's a frequent cycle of industrial action that's taking place. Today it's train workers. Tomorrow it will be something else.
What would the legislation set to be debated in Parliament next week do to curb future strikes?
As I mentioned, there have been strikes by people in the health sector. So we're looking at nurses as well as paramedics, and that's caused some particular concern for public health and safety and the impact that having a complete workforce out of action for a number of days may have on public health and safety. So Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is hoping to introduce some legislation next week that is called anti-striking legislation. And what it would do is it would implement a minimum standard of service. And if that minimum standard of service isn't met in key sectors like health or schooling, then employers will have the ability to either sue unions or to sack workers, or both. So that legislation is hoping to curb and to stop the industrial action in key sectors that could impact public health and safety. Now, there's been an angry response from unions to this legislation, and that's prompted further concerns that there could be more strikes, not just about pay, but now also about this new law and this new legislation that's being introduced and will be debated next week. Labor opposition, the opposition party here in the UK, have said that they don't support the legislation, and that if they're voted into power at the next election, that they would repeal it.
Meanwhile, Michelle, more details from Prince Harry's new autobiography have been revealed. Can you tell us more about that and what the reaction in the UK has been?
Yeah, so we know pretty much everything that's in the book so far, and that's because, as we heard my colleague Nick Dole say a little earlier, copies of the book were sold accidentally in Spain, so they were made available in Spanish bookstores. And so translators were working through the day yesterday and through the night last night to translate that book that was in English, translated to Spanish, back to English, and to reveal what it was that Prince Harry was saying in his memoir. There have been a number of allegations and claims that people have found quite shocking, and in response to that, there's been a shock here in the UK, but also a lot of concern that this is really the rift between Harry and the royal family is only widening, and that it's putting the monarchy and Britain's royal family in a light, and it's being seen in a way that perhaps hasn't been seen before. There are private conversations and personal behind-the-scenes moments that are being revealed, and these really deep flaws in people, in high ruling members of the royal family, in the king, in the king-to-be, Prince William, in the heir to the throne. And that's really tarnishing the reputation of the monarchy. The front pages of Britain's papers today were covered in news of these revelations, and one of the big ones was a claim that this is the worst crisis that the monarchy has faced in 30 years. We haven't had a reaction from the monarchy itself. There's been nothing from Buckingham Palace, nothing from Kensington Palace, nothing from any of the royals. There have been some clips released from interviews that Harry has done before this book was prematurely released. And so a new clip that was released today had Prince Harry describing seeing a red mist on his brother Prince William when he claims he was physically attacked by William. We know that there are at least 4 more interviews that Harry has done that will be rolling out in the next 4 days. They're TV interviews, so we're expecting to hear more revelations and more feedback to what is said over the coming days.
Michelle Rimmer reporting from London. Thank you.